Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the growth of micro. So the previous class, we had discussed about various types of microorganisms, and we talked about bacteria, fungi, parasites, and viruses. Today we are going to focus on the bacteria and how we can grow the bacteria in the laboratory. And we normally grow the bacteria using culture media. So we are going to look at the culture media. We understand what is this, look at the definitions and how we classify them, and the types of the media that we use in the laboratory. So to begin with, I would like to look at the various definitions that we use when we talk about the culture media. And remember, the microorganisms we are going to discuss about is the bacteria. And normally this organism can be grown in the laboratory. And there are various nutrients that are mixed, but they normally come prepared from the industries. So we don't need to mix everything. So the bacteria are the ones that we look at and how we cultivate them and how we grow them in the lab. So to begin with, we are going to look at various definitions. To start with, we look at what is the media and understand various types that we use. So media is nothing but a mixture of nutrients that support the growth of microorganisms in vitro. So these microorganisms are supported by various nutrients, and they can be able to grow the same way they grow in their normal environment. So when we use the media, we aid the growth by adding some nutrients that they normally use in the environment, so they can be able to grow in the laboratory. So we also have agar. When we prepare the media, there are two forms. We can have liquid media and solid media. So the liquid media does not have the agar, but the solid media has the agar. And agar is nothing but a gelatinous product made from the seaweed and is used as a base for bacterial cultures. So when we talk about this agar, it's normally added in various percentages so that it can be able to give the solidification or the solid form of that particular media content. So we can have liquid, semi-solid, and solid media. So when we talk about liquid media, we normally have it without agar. Solid media, we have it with some percentage of agar. For example, it can have 2.5. So it looks gelatinous. It's like, say, semi-solid means that it's not solidified, but it's kind of liquid or liquid form, but not completely in liquid form. Then we have the solid one, which is solid media, and in this one we add like 5% of agar. So when it cools down and it's cold, it is in form of a solid. So this agar is normally the one that is used to solidify the media, but it does not give the nutrients to the microorganisms or the bacteria. So we are going to look at how we classify the culture media. So we have various types of culture media. When we classify them, we do the classification in various forms and ways. Looking at their consistency, we look at their ingredients and the oxygen requirements so that we can classify them in that manner. So to begin with, we have the solid media, simple media. So when we talk about the in classification based on their consistency, it's either they are solid or liquid. And then when we talk about this particular solid medium and liquid medium, I had already explained that it can be having agar, and the other one does not have agar completely. So I think that area we are clear when I was discussing about it, when I was talking about agar. Now, when you look at the solid media, we have examples like the nutrient agar. So that one is the solid medium. And then when you talk about the nutrient, the liquid medium, we have example nutrient broth that does not have the agar inside. And we proceed on the second classification based on the constituents or the ingredients. So when you talk about the classification based on the ingredients, we have simple media and complex. So, but the simple media, we have the one that has just basic ingredients that are not, we don't have any special addition into it. So these are things like nutrients, agar medium. That is just a simple medium. But when we have other additions of ingredients, such as maybe blood, so that one, it becomes a complex media, and we normally call it as a blood agar. So these particular aids in specifically are promoting or enhancing the growth of those microorganisms that thrive well in presence of blood. And then we also have based on the oxygen requirements. So the oxygen requirement is whether it's aerobic or anaerobic. So in this, they are all microorganisms that grow in presence of oxygen and the others which grow in absence. So this is how we classify the culture media. And there's so many classification methods, but these are the common ones that are used when we are classifying the particular microorganisms. So as we proceed, you've had me explaining various examples, but we are going to look at them in details. We look at the types of the culture media and know how are these culture medias have been how are their appearance, and normally what do they cultivate, which kind of microorganisms are cultivated on this media for them to aid the growth of this particular microorganisms. So this one, when we are going to discuss about each and every one of the types of the culture media, you can be able to know where to base the particular media or classify it on your own. You can classify whether it is a solid media or a liquid or a simple media, or it's aerobic or anaerobic. So you can be able to identify that particular media when you're going to observe it. And you can be able to understand it and know what kind of bacteria does it aid the growth of this media, what kind of bacteria does it help in growing. And when we do this, when we inoculate the particular microorganisms, that is using the sample that you have, maybe you inoculate into the, for example, maybe you have a sample that contains, it can be saliva, air, or any liquid. You inoculate it on this media, they are able to grow. So you can put the particular Petri plate or the media in which you have inoculated the microorganisms, and then they can be able to grow. And we know that we discussed previously that the bacteria can grow within 24 hours. It can be able to multiply, and we can be able to see colonies or this particular growth clearly on the Petri plate. After within 24 hours, you can be able to see. And then we already discussed that for it to grow, you have to place it in a conducive temperature, favorable temperature, so that it can promote the growth of the microorganisms. And we discussed the temperature to be 37 degrees, and this is the best, but it differs from various types of microorganisms. So let us go ahead and look at the types of culture media. So we have various types of culture media, and as you can see there, we have nutrient agar, we have the blood agar. And when you look at the nutrient agar, it's normally it's just a simple media. So you can be able to classify it easily upon just observing how it appears. It's just a simple media. There's nothing, no special ingredient that is added. So when you look at the blood agar, you can see it is not similar to the nutrient agar, which means that there is an addition of blood into that particular media. So apart from the normal standard ingredients that are being used to prepare the media, we have an addition of blood into it. This is to specifically aid or promote the growth of microorganisms which thrive well in presence of blood. And this particular blood agar, this type of media, normally it is selective, means that it can only promote growth of bacteria on those bacteria that thrive well in blood and not in absence of blood. So is there any question before we conclude? Any question? If there are no questions, that means that we all understood. And if you have any concern, you know where to find me for more explanation. So I would like to end my class there if there are no questions. Thank you very much for your cooperation until we meet in the next class.